All right. Morning, everybody. Today we got the enigmatic man himself, Ellis Norman. He's going to be coming through, teaching us about the art of pitching, the art of selling, and in general, filling in all the gaps that engineers always have. So, that being said, I think most of us have already met you, Ellis, but let's go ahead and jump in there.
Well, first of all, guys, I'll say this first. All of you know me at this point. Think that most of you probably don't have very much context on my background or kind of where we sit, but I'll give you a quick overview and kind of go over what the whole point is today. Now, I have personally met with, and Austin's personally met with the vast majority of the teams, I would think, and we've all kind of reviewed the pitches, know where everything stands, and y'all all have very kick-ass projects. Like, we're excited to actually get this in front of the Axelar Foundation, in front of other guests that'll be joining us also. But there are some gaps that are often there when you have a product background, or you usually sit on that side of the house versus being kind of in the front line, actually closing the deals down, which is absolutely what's required of every single one of you if you want to actually go and raise from an external capital source, be it VC, be it from a bank, whatever. Fact of the matter is that you're selling something. And if you're selling something, you need to know how to actually get as much impact out of each interaction as possible, because sometimes you only get one shot. So we're going to do this a little bit different than, say, a standard presentation deck or something like that. Austin and I can just kind of jam for a little bit. And then while I'm going through the presentation, I'm going to ask Austin, if you have questions, just stop me, dude. Okay?
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump in there. I am ready.
We'll go through it, and hopefully you guys will get some new knowledge or some new, call it arrows in your quiver. And we have a little homework assignment that I want you to do before Friday. So with that being said, let's kick this thing off. So 1 second, let me share my screen just to make sure that everything looks good. Okay, can we see my screen?
Looking good.
Sweet. Okay, let me actually come back over here. I'm going to move this 1 second. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about basically getting to a yes. Some of you have heard this called persuasion. Some people call it dark art. I simply think that it is absolutely critical to have as a part of your arsenal when it comes to pitching and actually getting money in the door. So basically, this is all about getting to a yes, the behavioral psychology that kind of goes behind it, the different pieces of a successful pitch, and how you need to not only bring yourself into the actual conversation, but take the frame. So with that, we're going to kick it off with a little scene. So there's a movie, a lot of you I would hope would have seen it by now. It's called Boiler Room. It's a little cliche, but fact of the matter is that it is very, very similar to how you should actually approach a pitch to, say, a VC or something like that. Structured as hell, repeatable, but let's give it a quick watch and then we'll break it down.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Jacobs. This is Chris Marlin over at JT Marlin.
Marlin?
Right, he's my father.
He's my mother.
So my associate tells me you're interested in one of our stocks.
I will call her back. Yes, MSC sounds like it might be interesting.
Might be doesn't sell stock at the rate MSC is going for, Dr. Jacobs. We're talking very very high volume here.
Well, I still have to run it by my people.
That's great, Doc, if you want to miss yet another opportunity here and watch your colleagues get rich doing clinical trials, and don't buy a share and hang up the phone.
Well, hold on a second now. I didn't say that. I just want to talk about it some more.
Honestly, Doc, I don't have the time. This stock is blowing up right now. The whole firm's going nuts. Hold on, let me open up the door to my office. See that, Doc? That's my trading floor. Now I have a million calls to make to a million other doctors who are already in the know.
I can't walk you through this right now.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let's do this.
Now, since you're a new account, I cannot go any higher than 2,000 shares. I'm sorry.
2,000? Are you nuts? That is way beyond what I was thinking. 2,000? Jesus. Listen, I'm curious. Why can't you sell me any more than that?
Well, we like to establish a relationship with our clients on something small before we get to the more serious trades. Let me show you several percentage points on this small trade, and then we'll talk about doing future business.
That sounds good. Give me the 2,000 shares.
Done.
You sure you can't do any better on this one?
I'm sorry, Dr. Jacobs. I can. I'm sorry.
All right, we'll start with this trade then.
Great. I promise we'll swing for the fences on the next one. Do you want that confirmation sent to your office or your mansion?
Very funny, Mr. Marlin.
Let me put my secretary on, and she'll take down your info. It was a pleasure doing business with you. Done and done.
Okay.
Cool. So there is an absolute shitload to actually unpack in that scene, to say the truth. Let's see if I can just get this slide working right. Okay, cool. So what we're going to talk about really quick before I go into the agenda is like what that actually kind of was like. Now it's sleazy as fuck, and that's obviously a boiler room, but the person that's closing is going in there leveraging basic psychology that creates FOMO. But in this case, silence, control, power, hierarchy, all of those are different pieces that basically influence someone with money buying something. But at the end of the day, people only make decisions based on a few different things. And if you're talking to a VC, it is going to be mostly fear of missing out. Fact of the matter is that if you're a VC, what matters is not only the amount of at-bats that you get, but the amount of home runs that you get. And at the end of the day, people are more concerned about missing a home run than they are about potentially losing. So with that, what this is broken down into is basically like 4 parts. So the first part is pitchcraft. So what is the different components of your pitch? What are the psychology pieces that are going to actually move the needle? How do you craft that ask into your presentation? And then what's it actually look like in action? So with that, there's a couple of pieces like you just kind of saw. But so persuasion will win in a logical scenario if there is urgency applied 100% of the time. The issue is not if it wins, it's if the person on the other end has the ability to actually stop themselves in their tracks a little bit more and get a sense of the ground. So what this is 30 slides, actually not 25. It's probably going to run about 45 minutes. We're going to cover everything that we can. We're going to go over scripts, closing strategies, basically everything to either get you a check, an LOI, or an MOU. Why does this all matter? Well, it's because if you want to get anywhere, you are selling somebody, whether it's an investor or whether it is a user or a client. So getting to that contract and getting through it is going to be actually the most important thing of all of this. So again, we talked about it before. People, and particularly in VCs, are hardwired to not want to miss, right? So I don't want to miss out on the next Solana. If I had a chance to buy Facebook at preferred shares at the very beginning, I mean, holy shit, right? But if you miss that opportunity, You're not going to get it again. Okay. Now, what is an LOI? What's the differential there? Somebody on the LOI wants to know that they are going to be elevated a bit in status. And then MOU is kind of similar, but that's basically like we're going to partner together and we're going to do something. So each one of these different things come from a different component. But at the end of the day, we're all kind of similar. So fact, people act out of self-interest, right? Like it or not. Even if you're doing something sacrificial, it oftentimes is somewhat self-serving in the point that it is your family, it's doing something, whatever it might be. So what are those different kind of interested pieces from the different parties that are involved in any of these scenarios? Again, VC, talking about future potential upside. For an LOI, it's likely going to be more about immediate profit. And from like a partnership perspective, again, it's about aligning brands and strategic norms. So what are the levers that we can pull when we're talking to these different types of people? Is all individualized. And kind of the point of this is that you need to know your audience. So if you're talking to a VC, structuring the pitch to, leverage urgency and leverage upside. If you're looking at something more like a partnership, you want to leverage against status. All right. So, Austin, I'm going to ask you a question. So nobody gets sales calls anymore, right? But it used to be that we would get sales calls all the fucking time, right? Well, even now, if you get a phone call from somebody that you don't recognize the number, right? 99% of the time, you're not going to answer it nowadays, right? You're muted.
Yeah, for sure. My finger goes right to that side button.
Right. If you do answer it, or if they call twice, right? Generally, you're going to have some form of alarm, right? How does that alarm kind of materialize itself? Usually in like skipped heartbeat, or like pang in the pit of your stomach, or like whatever it is, right? Or like say somebody comes and bangs on your door.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the immediate like, oh shit, when you open the door, right? No matter what, there is an instance of fight and flight, or fight or flight, I should say. And most of you guys probably have heard about this in school, right? There's 3 different pieces of the brain. In order to actually get to speaking to where we need to, we have to go through different kind of components. So what do I mean? I mean that when that knock on your door occurs and you have that oh shit in the middle of your stomach for an instant, right? That is your mammalian brain, or your lizard brain, the oldest part of your brain, that is lighting up to say, can I eat this, or can I kill it, or is it going to kill me? That's it, right? There's only fight or flight, and it's only an instant or so. But once you've gotten past that, it's not going to kill me, I don't need to run away, right? Like if you open the door and somebody had a fucking gun there, you'd run immediately, or at least I would hope so. Otherwise, you'd be shot, right? That's that fight or flight mechanism. Now, second part is basically where you start to say, have somewhat of a acknowledgement of your own existence, and are kind of trying to scope out what the situation is, that initial curiosity, if you would. And then and all of this happens in like the matter of an instant, by the way. So like knowing this, it will help you actually do what are these opens that are just simply important. So once you've gotten through fight or flight, you get basically to the mammal brain, where it's kind of, again, taking stock of where you are. Finally, you enter into the neocortex, where you're actually having a conversation with somebody. That, what are you here for? How can I help you? Blah, 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 right? Point is, no matter what, you need to get through the first 2 stages in order to speak to the part of the brain for the person you're talking to actually make any momentum whatsoever. You're all going to have to be prospecting. I don't give a shit who you are. You're prospecting VCs, you're prospecting users, KOLs, whatever it is. That is something that all of you will have to do as business owners or as operators. That process is the same for all human beings, regardless of stature, scope, anything, right? So the point being, going back to pitchcraft, if you know that going into it, it makes it a whole hell of a lot easier to frame your arguments and write your pitch accordingly. All right. So, Austin, have you ever noticed or have you ever gotten on a call with somebody and immediately not liked them?
Yes, for sure.
Probably a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh, for certain. Yeah. You can hear it in their voice.
Their voice, or just like something happens when there's any type of interaction between two new people, and really any two people, where you basically have, in a virtual environment, you have 4 seconds to make an impression that goes basically past that lizard brain part, right? In real life, if you're like walking down the street, it's I think 1/4 of a second. So it's like you can't even say anything, do anything. There's absolutely nothing that you can say or do in 4 seconds that will make somebody say yes or no. Okay? So what can you do in 4 seconds or in 1/4 of 1 second that will have people gravitate? Part of it in real life is, call it sitting tall, call it confidence, swagger, whatever you want to call it. It's that thing that doesn't turn people off and keeps people open. On the phone or virtually or anything like that, it's all the same. It is confidence in the ability to basically take control of the conversation, or at least the frame. So if you've only got 4 seconds, you need to basically get through all of these different pieces in a fraction of a second, right? So how do you do that? You need to present yourself accordingly. You need to be confident in your solution, and you need to structure this arc in a way that is compelling for the other person on the end of the line to not just hang up the phone on you. So again, what can you do? You've got basically 90 seconds, if you've made it through the first 4, to take control of the conversation. Going back to that video that we saw from Boiler Room, there's a few things at play here. So there's something called situational professionalism, where basically, like, even if you're the president of the United States and you're on a golf course and you're taking golf lessons, when you're in a golf lesson, the teacher is in charge. If you're the doctor is in charge, right? So it doesn't matter what your job title is. Situationally, there are ways to basically take the dominant hierarchy and from there basically be prescriptive. So that primacy bias, who's the primary kind of leader in this conversation, is kind of what you're trying to take. And confidence is how you do it. And I'll digress for a second. So like basically all of you have seen a situation where if you have, call it 5 different people in a group, we've all been in a conference, we've got 5 people standing around each other, right? Naturally, one person will end up dominating that conversation in a group, not by taking over, I'm saying like actually organically and naturally. But, so like Austin, why do you think that is? Why is that a social phenomenon that happens?
I imagine it would have to do with maybe who feels most comfortable in the room, like the person that kind of is there with the most certainty. I'm not totally sure, because I know what you're talking about, where even if it's a situation that doesn't need kind of like a leader situation, there is somebody who, if something uncertain happens, you hear a noise, something like that, people will look at them. Kind of an odd thing, but
So everybody comes to a situation, no matter what, with their own worldview, their own positioning, their own background, their own everything, right? Now, ironically, you can change this in your own mind if you're just kind of being conscious of it at a time, but that's called a frame collision. And basically what happens is that the dominant frame will overtake the less dominant frames every single time, no matter what. Because the non-dominant frames essentially fold into each other, right? Under the weight of the dominant one. And how do you take that dominant frame? It's not anything more than really confidence. Like look at everything going on in the world today. You can see that in practice, right? So how does that apply to your pitch? You need to be talking about quick, good, hard-hitting points, right? Like the line says, 90 seconds, they already know whether you're worth it. After that, they're just basically confirming their own bias. And if you start hard and you start with a lot of confidence, it's going to be a whole hell of a lot more difficult for them to change the frame on you, right? So the whole point here is don't waste that minute and a half first opportunity to blow their socks off. And if you're not ready, don't take the call. So what is basically driving all of this? Like what are the core pieces of human psychology that we can kind of tap into? What are the levers that we can pull and how can we pull? All right, now this is old. Some of you probably know what this is. Most of you probably don't. But in the 70s, there was a detective TV show called Columbo. This is fucking before my time too. So, but I went through some old training back in the day that like stressed this very, very hard. Where Columbo was more about how he found out the truth, right? And the thing is that he would always trap people at the very end. So like he'd go through this super long interrogation, get all the discovery questions answered, lay the frame, and then walk out the door. And as he's walking out the door, he'd say just one more thing. And then whatever he just dropped on them absolutely just destroyed the other person that they were trying to, you know, whatever they were doing in this type of detective crime TV show. So we'd covered a little bit of this before, but these are kind of the core components. So authority, social proof, right? If you have people using your product, it's likely that more people will use your product. The more important people that are using your product, it's likely that even more important people will continue to use your product, right? So it's like that initial snowball, if you would. And some of the ways that you do this from a 0 to 1 startup perspective is brand alignment, bringing on your board of advisors, doing press, PR, basically all of this type of workshop, webinar type stuff where you're able to grab more kind of authority, right? So when you're framing it, and let's say you're coming in and you don't have a lead yet, well, you want to at least kind of hint that there is interest from different people. Now, I'm not saying don't lie, but make sure that you go out there and get it. But once there's interest, start leveraging that, right? Same thing with like your advisors. It's absolutely critical if you have a good founding team and your board of advisors, because you're essentially borrowing their reputation in order to, stand on the shores of giants, if you would. Again, depending on what you're going after, there's going to be different things that you frame towards. VCs, again, lead with FOMO. Partnerships, lead with brand alignment and status. So authority will shortcut decision making. And if you've shown that you're validated by someone they trust, then essentially they fall into what's called a herd mentality, right? So like people move with the herd. Vast majority of people move with the herd as opposed to against the herd. And when you're doing these types of pitches, yes, you want to make sure that you're optimizing for each individual. However, at the end of the day, you can't optimize every single pitch that you do, because that would be, first of all, just non-repeatable. So there's a formula or a systematic approach that goes into this where your pitch should be the same thing pretty much every time as you go through it, so you can diagnose what's going wrong. Second piece, scarcity. Urgency, right? Get this now or the train's leaving the station. Again, going back to the video earlier, You've got, we can only sell you 2,000 shares, and these things are going fast. If you don't buy them right now, they're going to be gone. Right? So when we're talking about how people are motivated, there are really only two basic motivations: fear and greed. There's a book called Question-Based Selling that was, I don't know, probably 15 years old by now. It's extremely good. I encourage every single one of you to get it, where they talk about gold medals or German shepherds. That, are you chasing after a gold medal, greed, or are you being chased after by a German shepherd? Fear. People are more motivated by fear of loss than they are about maximizing gains. If I told you, Austin, if you give me every dime you have, I'll make 10 to exit. Right?
Okay.
Or versus, if you don't give me every dime you have, you're going to lose 99% of it right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna be more scared of the second one.
The latter, the fact of the matter is, you can't, you've already made something, right? And you don't want to lose what you've already got. Then you're going to have to start over from zero, right? So it's more important to maintain than it is to try and chase those gold medals, excuse me. But if you can flip it, like in the case of the VC, where you're saying, hey, if you don't move, you're missing out on the next Facebook. That is, again, a German shepherd for them, because from a power law perspective, it is significantly more impactful to miss the next big thing than it is to lose on something. Right? The opportunity cost of money.
Yeah. That's interesting that FOMO kind of inverts that a little bit, of like, suddenly you can take that going after the gold medal thing, suddenly make that like a fear of like not getting the gold medal.
It's all about framing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can say the same thing in two different ways, but if you don't frame it properly to whatever somebody is motivated for, then at the end of the day, you're not going to get anything. Have said this many times. Some of you may have already heard me say this. You have two uncertain parties on the phone. Nobody's buying anything. Period. Now, if you have one person that's certain and one person that's skeptical, your job is to make the skeptical person certain, right? But if two people are skeptical, no deal is getting done, no matter what. So how do we frame this? Like you were just saying, how do we change this verbiage, right, to German shepherds, right? Well, you make it so that saying no is riskier than saying yes. So when it comes to, say, something like contracts, you would guarantee outcomes. You would add credits on an upgrade, right? You would layer in kill switches where if this isn't doing this by this time, you're out, no cost. Okay, so for VCs or for, say, angels or investors, soft circle now, pull out later. Hey man, look, we're here, we're moving. All we need is a thumbs up really quick. We'll circle back to you in a little bit. But as of right now, this much of the round is open. It'll be closed by the end of the week. Give me a yes or a no. I got to go. I have another call in 5 minutes. Right? But there's a key component to that we'll cover later, which is don't quit your day job, because desperation is what will kill your deal no matter what. And if you're desperate because you don't have enough money to keep the lights on, figure out a way to keep the lights on so that you're not desperate, because it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like chasing, a significant other. If you're chasing a significant other or somebody that you want to be with, chances are they're running away from you. But follow somebody down the street and just start running after them real quick. See if they run away or they run towards you. Right? So It's all about positioning. It's all about framing It's all about how you can actually present the ask, which that goes back into this needs to be an arc. And I've said that to a lot of you, but it has to go somewhere. Human beings, we are wired for stories. Shit, we didn't even have books for, however many tens of thousands of years. Everything was passed down orally. So if that's the case, we are hardwired to remember stories and have them be impactful, right? So Star Wars is a great example. I'm sure that all of you have kind of heard by now that there is an absolute hero's journey, which is baked into the vast majority of content, right? Somebody needs to be a main character. They leave home. They get initiated through some trial of fire that then turns them into something new. And then they go back home and they claim their birthright. That is a universal human kind of story. So everybody knows the bar napkin pitch, right? That's your story spun. And you absolutely need a bar napkin pitch. And you need to go to the bar and explain it to somebody sitting next to you, not some other nerd that's sitting there and understand what you're saying, because we need to dumb all of this down for the vast majority of the mass public, right? And the more simple that we can make this, the more palatable it becomes and the more consumable it becomes, right? So a compressed hero's journey beats 30 slides of logical presentation. It's why you've seen like Uber's pitch deck, right? Some of these like crazy, shitty pitch decks that raise an absolute ton of money. Because the arc, it's because the presentation from the founder that they were giving them at the exact same time from that presentation. The presentation isn't supposed to be something that they take and they review later. You need to look at each and every single one of these things as a first call close. Either you close them or you don't. If they get off the phone or get off the call and they did not say yes, they said no. Every time, particularly when you're raising money. Right? You don't get a second ask. That's just part of it. It's either yes or no. So, problem, solution, team, what's the market, right? But at the core, everybody thinks that you're the hero. You are not the fucking hero. The customer is the hero. The VC is the hero. Your solution is the weapon to kill the villain, which is the problem. And the market is the treasure that they get as a, spoil of their victory. That's the thing. So when we're talking about how badass we are and all of this stuff, and look at this TAM and look at this SAM, and it's a huge market opportunity. Who cares, right? How is that going to affect me? If I give you $1 million, how's that $1 million going to actually make me either $20 million or save me from losing another $1 million? Right? 2 minutes. And the first 90 seconds, you better make good, like we said before. Right.
I really like 2 points that you made in there of the thing of, I feel like it is a natural place to go when you're doing a presentation like this. Like, I just have to make the product look incredible. I have to make myself look extremely educated and smart. And like, that's the way, but then you kind of leave the client out in that. And also the point about making a simpler pitch at the bar. I know I've had in the past issues with a client straight up told me once, if I asked you how to turn on a light bulb, you would start at the power plant. And I feel like if you're technically inclined, that's what you want to do. And so, and it doesn't help being in an industry that is, makes as many technical assumptions as it does. And I think I see that hurting people's pitches sometimes. Missing that simplicity.
Well, and again, so if we're doing a pitch and there are 10 teams pitching, there's fatigue. by the time we get to, pitch 5, 99% of the time, people go over. And this is the point. It's that we should be able to, as founders, give our entire thesis on an actual Post-it note or a bar napkin. I'd go Post-it note. And we should be able to sit next to somebody at a bar and explain the problem, the solution, and everything else in basically like 3 sentences, right? Ideally. Now, excuse me, how do you basically kill objections before they start? We know going into it that people are going to have questions or concerns or red flags that go off. Who have these guys worked with before? Right? What types of partnerships do they have in play? What potential is there that they drop the fucking ball and the whole thing burns down? Whatever those 3 different pieces are, you hit them ahead of time. So like if you're in a stable coin market or you're a DEX based in Europe or like whatever, and like one of the key things is like regulatory, right? Hit it ahead of time. We're making DORA compliant. Done ahead of time, right? Not only does it show that you know your shit, but you are automatically killing objections before they come into it. Because again, you've only got 5 to 7 minutes for this pitch. Okay. And on top of that, 2 minutes of that is the only ones that matter. And then the other 5 minutes, they're sitting there just reinforcing what they think. So there is, like we talked about, imagine, a horizon with the sun coming up. You've got an arc. Real standard, just arc. Every single one of that's divided into basically 6 pieces. Problem, what's the solution, why you need to do this right now, why you need to take a risk on us, here's what you're going to get, now give me your money. Right? Maybe not that crass, but like, here's the ask. The ask is for $1 million pre-seed round. We plan to close said round by September 15th. Right now, we're speaking to XYZ. We have interest coming from over here. If we put you down right now, where could you start? Make the ask. There is an old rule. So I came from commodities, just like for some background. So a little bit of color on me. So started in entertainment a million years ago, moved into commodities in 2008 when the world shit the bed, and then basically did the Wolf of Wall Street for about 15 years. Started one of the first crypto IRA companies here in the US, had an exit in 2019, then moved into advising 0 to 1 startups, specifically in SaaS, tech, crypto. This is universal, any way you want to slice it. So if you're somebody that's trying to figure out your own pitch, you get in the trenches and you start iterating, but it's basically this. No matter what, this isn't just for fundraising. This is for user acquisition, client acquisition, marketing, whatever. Now, again, don't sell TAM. Everybody knows it's bullshit. Cool, big ass market. That's awesome. How inevitable is the market? And it's going to get captured by somebody. Might or might not be you. But again, missing out on the opportunity that exists is worse than taking a chance and losing. Missing Facebook is worse than investing in Friendster and Facebook, right? But VCs in a lot of these cases and a lot of these LPs and whatever GPs that are out there, there's typically an exclusivity clause, or at least there often is, where you're not able to invest in competing different products within the same industry. So if we're looking at, say, Facebook, and you have Facebook, Friendster, MySpace, whatever, back in the day, if you didn't take Facebook, everything else is dead. That opportunity cost of missing the next Facebook is the worst thing. So selling the inevitability of the social media marketplace is what you're selling, not that there's all these people, and here's all the potential money that we can make. It's the inevitability of the market. Everybody knows this movie, right? Thanos is inevitable. So TAM is theoretical, and inevitability means that the train is coming and going to leave. If you don't have a ticket, you will not be on the train. Right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at how this works for, say, VCs or anything else, right? Here's the next big ass intersection that's going on right now. We can see that in crypto, and again, crypto and AI, absolutely huge potential marketplace, a lot of different ways to attack it. This is what's going on. If somebody had brought that up, say crypto and AI intersection up in 2022, 2023, and explained the inevitability of the market, how fucking impactful and persuasive is that pitch in regards to context and timing, knowing what we know now? Huge. Right?
Yeah.
So going back, framing, you need to come across as confident, leadership worthy, like you know what you are talking about, and you're confident in your responses. Some different kind of feedback there, but the point is control the frame, slow the fuck down. Silence is your friend. There was an old rule where you ask for the order and then you mute yourself. He who speaks first loses, right? If you've ever heard that. So speak slower than what actually feels natural, sounds more impactful. Pause. Now, how do you get deals? You get deals by explaining urgency and by layering in safety. Hey, this is going on right now. You can invest this. This is what you may potentially stand to, lose out on. And there's no downside risk, or downside risk is mitigated by ABC, right? So you're lowering their risk aversion by layering in safety nets. What does that look like in practice? You check the slides. Again, you guys are going to get all of these that you can go through later. But for example, in a VC, we're oversubscribed. We've got one more allocation. It's closing in a week and a half. There's 2 million in the round. If you want in, let me know right now. I'll send you a return sheet. In action. Right? Everybody knows this Bill O'Reilly clip. All right. So look, there are different types of people in the world. Those different types of people consume or are motivated by generally different types of things. An analyst type personality, which you could throw into engineering, accounting, people that like numbers, they crave data. Right? The entrepreneur, the dreamer, the guy, the big thinker, right? Vision. Somebody that is kind of skeptical, they want to see high quality logos attached, right? Because other people have already validated the social proof. And what we would call a kingmaker, right? So like, let's call it like that S tier founder. They're looking for power, control, or at least dominance of a particular type of market set. If each archetype is a different type of human being, they all need to eat different types of food. So if it's a fish, it needs to eat different types of bait. Those different viewpoints, you should almost have not an individual pitch deck, but a crafted pitch to know who you are speaking to. So that if you're talking to an analyst, you are not selling some wide vision without any types of data to back it up. Why? Because they're not going to receive the information. It's just not going to hit. Same way, if you're talking to somebody that is, that power broker, that's tier founder, and you're hitting them with nothing but numbers back to back to back to back, their eyes are going to shut, and that's basically it, right? So know your audience. So when you get to, so there's an old rule, first of all, you got to ask for the order 8 times in order to get to a yes. Now, there are different ways to do that, which are simple kind of tactics. Like, if we were to close this round tomorrow, what could we put you down for hypothetically? What's the max amount, right? But there, you have to set up the next kind of pieces. So always set next steps. So, hey, awesome talking to you today. In order to get this done, why don't we plan on this? Why don't we send you ABC? We're going to set another call now while we're on the line for a week from now. And then I'm going to send you over, say, a mutual action plan of the different things that need to happen between now and then in order to get this done. Okay? You want to give basically 2 options, both of which essentially are a yes. Hey, we're going to do this, or we're going to do this. Here's what we need from you. This is the next step. What do you think? Shut the fuck up. And it will force a decision. So, talked a lot about different components of pitches, a lot about different kind of pieces that go into it, personality types, archetypes. What does a good pitch look like versus a weak pitch? Both have their own kind of standard framework. Ironic. A bad pitch, typically a weak open, somebody that is not commanding in their authority, over talking, info dumping, not asking for the order. The absolute fucking worst thing that you can do at the end of the call is say, what do you think? That's it. Like, period. You need to give 2 options. Both of them get to a yes. That is how you close deals. So what did Shitty look like? Weak backstory. Didn't really talk about any proof. We just dumped a bunch of slides and read through them all individually. And they never asked for the actual order. People want you to ask for the order. If you're confident and you know that this shit is real, you're going to ask them and you're going to tell them to take the chance. And it's probably not even a chance in your mind because you're confident in the opportunity. Winning pitches actually make you feel there's emotion, right? You will get fucking worked up and like, oh shit, this is going down. Dude, like, yes, this is awesome. I know you guys, I know every single person has had an interaction with something where they're like, oh shit, this is rad, right? Part of that is from confidence and delivery, credibility, all of the different red flags and German shepherds that you would have initially had in the back of your mind have been answered, closed down. You are confident. Everybody's confident. So again, if you have 2 people on the phone or 2 people on a call or a presentation, and you have 2 people that are uncertain, absolutely no one is going to do anything. How do you make certainty or confidence in your pitch? I think this is probably the most overlooked and most critical part of the whole damn thing. You need to make a repeatable framework where you drill your pitch, basically every single word that will come out of your mouth from minute 1 to minute 5. Everyone, the whole thing. Then you actually go and practice against someone else. So somebody else on your team, other people, you're practicing. But if you do not have a repeatable framework from which you are actually A/B testing, you have no idea how to actually influence the pitch in a positive way. If it went well, you need to know why. And if it went shitty, you need to know why. Okay? So you need to actually get out there and you need to drill. You need a 100% drill to the 2-minute open. Again, I would take it all the way to the 7 minutes and then back it down. Write it all out physically by hand, typing or otherwise, doesn't matter. But talking about it doesn't work. You need to drill it, and you need to basically have self analysis and you have external analysis. And then how we do that, I'll take this. So I stole this from Eric, but you record everything on video. So pretend like you're doing your pitch. Then you record it, go away, come back, walk away from your computer and play the thing and just listen to your voice. How does it sound? Is it sing-songy? Is it confident? Is it, weak? How does your voice sound? Is it hard to understand? Okay, how's your accent? Just to be candid, but is it something like, how does it sound? And be honest with yourself. Then go back, mute yourself, and watch the video so you just see your body language. How does that look? Is it confident? Is it weak? Do you seem like you're, being persuasive? Fact of the matter is that I would urge every single one of you to do your pitch while standing if you can. Use your hands below the actual desk if you need to. But by standing, you are going to sound more confident. You'll be able to stand taller. You'll be able to actually, be somewhat theatrical with it because you are giving a presentation. It is called a presentation because you are presenting on stage for all intents and purposes. So get ready to do your dog and pony show and know that shit backwards and forwards. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to go back, and I know we have calls for later on today, but for those of you that are going to watch this in a little bit, rewrite your open. I want you to hit me with a 90-second cold open that is hardcore and just kind of slams. Then I want you to write out a FOMO line. So again, scarcity, security. This is the market opportunity, not the TAM. This is the potential market opportunity that is inevitably coming down the track. Here are 2 objections. So what are the 2 main things that people are going to ask about? Is it regulatory clarity? Is it who the fuck is this team? Like, what are the different pieces there? And I want you to test it at a bare minimum of 10 times before you present your project on Friday. That will increase the quality of every single pitch, not only for this presentation, but for basically anywhere you go from here. That is pure fact. So that brings us to the end. A bit longer than I expected. I thought it'd be 30 minutes, but hey, that's how it goes. So anyways, with that, Austin, since you've been here sitting here letting me ramble, ask me some questions, man. What maybe I might not have gone over yet, I need to go over.
Yeah, so there's kind of like 2 things I always think about. So I know personally my biggest thing I always end up struggling with when I have to sell something is because of my background and kind of what I was trained to do and everything, I always run on the side of being like very conservative with anything I say. Like, my original background, I worked at a structural engineering firm. You never oversell anything or somebody dies. Like, that's kind of what I come from. So I guess for like the engineers out there and the people that are used to having to be extremely accurate with language, not too much, not too little, how do you like formulate your banger? What's actually lying in a sales context versus what's not? And like, oh, you're muted. Hold on, let me get you. So Disney Concert Hall, great example.
So like all of you go back and do a little bit of research, but as like the story goes, the developer goes in and pitches this just like absolutely mind-boggling amazingness, right? Like in your context, this bridge is going to be, it's going to go from here to Hawaii so that we have like the ability to travel Hawaii like we do the Florida Keys. It's going to be fucking amazing, and it's going to open up X billion dollars of potential revenue across blah, 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 right? Now, when you actually get down to it, maybe it is only a bridge between islands, okay? But the fact of the matter is that somebody sold the dream. No matter what, somebody sold the dream. And as you get further along the funnel and as you get further to the actual contract deliverables, that's where the lawyers come in, and that's where the engineers come in, and the auditors come in, and everything else. But in order to not shoot yourself in the foot, you're going to sell a vision and a dream that is non-conservative, right? Because, and I think that this is actually kind of the point too. Always start high, because you can always go lower. It's easier to reduce than it is to increase. So if I start something and I say, this is going to be 100 million from an acquisition standpoint, how much do you want to commit? Right? They might say, oh, Jesus, that's significantly too much. We can only commit 10 million. However, if I say we're asking for 10 million, how much can you commit? You know where that's going.
Yeah.
So always, 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 always start high. Can always go down. Can't really go back up. You know what I mean? You don't go back with a higher valuation in the same pitch and say, now we're raising 250. Oh, you can do 2? How about 20? Right? No, that's not how the shit works. Again, train's leaving the station, and that also needs to feel like that in your pitch. Your pitch needs to feel like the train is leaving the station.
And then we got another one here, which was my next question, but we actually already have somebody landed on it here. Like being persistent and following up to get the yes or no. Maybe somebody's on the fence trying to seal something. When do you become, because I know like I've had people trying to sell me stuff before and they stop maybe one message too short. I was about to do something. Other times they get blocked. And it's navigating that kind of rocky road there.
I think so. Good question. At what point do you call a deal dead? Right? This sounds shitty, but I would not really do more than 3 follow-ups. Okay? In the event they're non-responsive.
Mm-hmm.
You know immediately if they're still on the line, if they're responsive. So should we be persistent? Depends on who you are or who you're chasing. So like I would say, if you're a B2C product and you're chasing a retail investor that you know is qualified, then yes, you are persistent but respectful, right? In that if it's a qualified opportunity, qualified meaning that they have interest, they have liquidity, and you have control of the buying conversation, then yes, you continue to follow up. But if you have not taken advantage of influencing momentum on the first instance, it's dead. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Another one. So Lisa, what's the best sales book to read? Question-based selling has mixed reviews. I'll tell you right now, question-based selling is probably one of the best sales books. Everybody likes Challenger and all this med pick bullshit. It is, I guess it's all up to the individual, but if you're not selling to enterprise, then there's no reason to go down like the, different sales training kind of methods, or even to do, say, type model. It's more kind of mentality than it is anything else. So what are my favorite sales books? There's one that I think all of you guys should get. It's called Pitch Anything. Pitch Anything was one of the original books from this dude named Warren Claff. It's actually a really good book, whether or not, outside of that. Number two, I would say QBS is one of my question-based selling is one of my core ones. There was also The Way of the Wolf is a good one on behavioral psychology. That one is for Jordan Belfort as fast as that is. Then on like the VC side, every single one of you right now at this second, if you do not have it, go download The Secrets of Sand Hill Road. Right. Like that is your number one thing to read before you even get in front of a VC, to be frank. Then from there, if you go through the pitch after having the knowledge that you do about how firms work, how LPs work, what an LPA looks like, and all of those other different factors, you understand the influence better than just simply going in blind. Okay? No motivation, you're good. Thank you for the compliment, Steve-O. You're the man. So with that, let's see. Post the book and list and Telegram. Yeah, actually, I will.
Yeah, for sure. I'll make sure to get that up for you guys.
I'll get you guys a list. There's a lot of different pieces. And again, I'm not a prescriptive person thinking that there is one sales methodology that works the best. In certain cases, like an enterprise actual B2B deal, there are frameworks that are good to follow in order to make sure you don't miss anything, right? And that's because largely these deals are so long-winded. None of you guys are doing it. Absolutely no one. Like I said, if you're going to raise money, these are first call closes. You need to treat them as such. You have one swing of the bat, one at plate per VC to crack that shit out of the park. And pardon my French this whole time, because I realize we've had ladies in attendance and I've been dropping F-bombs. So let's see, post the book list, sorry. So do I think that there is a Bible to go through? Not specifically, but I do think that there are basically a different series of books that you need to read that will inform what is the actual pitch structure. And that pitch structure, ironically, just mirrors that arc that we've been talking about this whole time.
Awesome.
So, any other questions from the crowd?
That seems like it from the crowd. Do you want to lead us off with?
I love this crew. Guys, y'all are all
Thank
awesome.
God we're not monetized yet.
Oh, yeah, really. By Axler at the top, right. There you go. Guys, y'all are all awesome. Again, the quality of the projects that are coming out of this cohort are fantastic. We have not only Axler Foundation, but Ethereum Foundation will be joining. Stellar Development Foundation will also be joining, along with Crack Labs, Spartan Labs, Spartan Group, and a handful of other angels and VCs. You guys are all rad. Right? So from our perspective, the most important thing for us is that we can help you get to where you need to get in order to receive external capital funding. A grant is not going to get you there. A grant will get you to the point where you can actually have a little bit of breathing room so that, again, desperation doesn't set in while you're doing your 2-week pitch into the VC market to see how much you can raise. So guys, that's it. Again, thank you all for your quality of work. We're super excited to be, completing this cohort. If anybody has questions going forward, you know where to find me, you know where to find Austin. We're going to upload slides. I'll upload a list of different assets that you guys should 100% go through and read. And between now and Friday, best of luck. May the odds ever be in your favor.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good luck, y'all. Yeah. I mean, again, just to reiterate, awesome work coming out of all of you guys. Blown away by just the quality of this cohort. So now we just got to make the VCs now too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's the main point. I'll say two things. VC might not be right for everybody. In an ideal world, right, you skip all of that. You just go to post revenue. You're just printing money, and you own 100% of the equity of the business. But the reality is, in a lot of these situations, we're going to need capital to scale. If we need capital to scale, we need to make sure that we're speaking to money. So, guys, have an awesome, awesome day. I know it's early, and I hope everybody had an awesome Labor Day. So, you've got 3 days left. Make them count.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
With that, we'll sign off. See everyone. Peace.